How do you start a software business from complete scratch with $0 in a bank account, with no savings, no advertisements, no cold emails, absolutely nothing, and you have 47 days to acquire your first client? So here's a scenario. This morning, you got the unfortunate email. You have been laid off and there's no severance package. Your rent is due in 60 days. Savings, you don't want to touch them, or you can consider that you have none. Job applications are completely banned. You're not allowed to send any job applications and look for a new job. And of course, you have a budget of a big fat zero. And you have only 47 days to get your client number one. Let's get started. But first, ask yourself the question: would you genuinely, right now as you are, make it? And be honest with yourself. If you got laid off right now, would you be able to get a client in 47 days? So this journey is going to require 6 splits. And these splits are going to be about a week long at the maximum. Now, the splits are taking into account that you do have other priorities. And this is not going to be your sole priority, even though it's a dire situation. Meaning it takes into account family time, kids potentially, partner, everything else that really goes on that you have to juggle in a day-to-day environment. Thus, we're going to start off with our first 2 splits, which is Recon and Loadout. So let's get started with Recon. And this video is for you if you actually did get that email that we just talked about, or you feel like it's somewhat coming, or if your side projects that you've been working on trying to kind of escape this type of 9-to-5 have made $0, you're done with the easy apply on LinkedIn and Indeed and all these other job applications websites, and you're tired of the same old cold email advice that makes you pretty much instantly close the tab. And this is not for you if you answer no to any of these, okay? So when it comes down to you showing up in person, if you're afraid to talk to people in person, this is not for you. You have to actually be able to build stuff, so you can't be a complete beginner as a software engineer. You need to have some experience under your belt such that you know how to build stuff. And of course, your market has local business room, meaning you are located either US, Canada, Western Europe, even some Eastern European countries, but you are located in a relatively strong country when it comes to opportunities. Does this mean that if you're located in a 4th or 3rd world country, you can't succeed with this method? No, you most definitely can. However, maybe the 47 days will not be enough, or some of the things we'll be discussing might not be available to you. Thus, if you're located in this is going to be the best for you to continue watching. So, before we get started, let me first explain a little bit about myself so you understand who the heck is this guy and what is he going to be talking about. This is me right there. In 2017, part of the robotics team that I was on, and we won the Los Angeles Regional. I was part of the simulation analysis sub-team. Large part of my work was essentially strategizing as well as programming this robot that you see right there. Shortly after that, I continued my education, got into UCSD, and pursued an electrical and computer engineering degree. And in pretty much junior year of university, I landed my first official 6-figure software engineering job, getting paid this much for 2 weeks of work. And in 3 years, I managed to get a promotion up to all the way to a manager. So I went from junior to senior to a manager. So in 3 years, I pretty much climbed the corporate ladder all the way to a $250,000 salary. And what I'm about to teach you is proven to work because I used the same exact strategy to quit my own job and found AB Analytics, which is what I run currently to this day, a 7-figure B2B AI consulting firm located down here in LA. And it's allowed me to essentially get the life that I thought I would be living in my 40s or 50s in my 20s, which is why I want to share all of this with you. Furthermore, to add one more thing on top of everything, very recently I applied for the Cloud Ambassadorship position, which is obviously a volunteer position, and I also became a Cloud Ambassador representing developers as well as startups in LA, meaning the exact thing that I'm teaching in this particular video, the exact strategy, I'm also doing it here in LA. And once again, this is proven, not theory, not just with me, but all the other founders inside my startup accelerator, Code to CEO. So we had Demir, that went from nothing to a multi-5-figure pilot. Sandra, who was overemployed working 2 jobs, now is making over $20,000 a month consistently. Paul, same exact thing, made more money in months of January and February with this method than he did at his previous 9-to-5 in the year before that. John got a $4.5 million buyout offer with the same exact method. Dom, consistently making over $15,000 now, located in Australia, working completely on his own terms. Ian, $10,000 for his first pilot, and I can go on and on. But the entire point is, every single Code to CEO founder did this. Every single person you see on your screen. Now, let's get into the actual details. There's been over 100,000 layoffs from January 2026 all the way to May in the tech world. And this is only going to get worse. And furthermore, this isn't because all of a sudden demand for AI disappeared. No, 4 out of 5 businesses still do not use AI. And all it really did is just shifted. The demand never really went away. It's just who wanted it slightly changed and who became aware of it slightly changed. So let's get started with how you're going to start off with your first 7 days, okay? Generally speaking, what the developer will do is they'll either go with one of these, right? Cold email, Upwork, they'll try to build a SaaS, maybe they'll try to post content, like building in public type of thing. And it feels like all of these are free, but in reality, they are far from that. For example, for cold emails, if you send out free cold emails from your Gmail account, guess what's going to happen? It's going to go straight into spam. So if you don't want to do that, you're going to need domains, extra inboxes, you're going to need to warm up, you're going to need sending tools, you're going to need lead data. All of this is going to cost you time and money. And we can't do that because we have exactly $0. On Upwork, applying to the actual jobs actually costs money because it's going to be paid to bid, and the proposals actually cost connects, and connects cost you cash. So once again, not free. SaaS and content are going to pay you in months if even you become successful at that, which is a completely different conversation. But remember, rent is due in 60 days. And the challenge we set for ourselves is we have 47 days to get there. So the internet isn't free, okay? It's going to charge you either with money or your time. So the only real free thing that you have is the city that you live in. It's the geography. It's your body in a room, because that costs absolutely nothing. Let me explain what I mean by that right now, and why having no money is actually the proper route to go with, and it's not necessarily the handicap that people think it is. Because if somebody has absolutely nothing and somebody has $1 million, they're most likely still going to fail the same way, because it's not necessarily about the resources. It's about being resourceful with those resources. So both individuals, if they have no conversations, they don't build trust with people, they're not going to get any clients. Thus, the only reliable path with absolutely $0 is to do exactly what I'm going to be discussing right now. And remember, your real blockers are all in your head. These are all self-limiting beliefs. Oh, my city is too small. Oh, I'm an introvert, I can't talk to people. Oh, I don't have a network. All of these are going to be excuses that you're going to think of as I get into it. But remember, they are only limiting beliefs. None of it is true. So let's get started with split number 1, the Recon stage. So in the United States alone, there are over 7,500 Chamber of Commerces located in various cities across the US. Your city most likely has more than one Chamber of Commerce. And I don't want you to immediately join them. What I want you to do is actually begin with visitations. Email every single chapter president, or just a chapter email by themselves, and just say, hey, can I come and sit in for one of your meetings before I decide to join? Most of them are going to say yes, because visiting is going to be free. And all you're really doing right now is you are simply scouting rooms. You are not going to buy any memberships. This is going to be your day 1 task. Shouldn't take you more than 10 to 20 minutes to actually find chapters in your city and begin sending out the emails. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to try the same thing with your BNIs, Business Network International. Once again, they will most likely have a chapter in your city. Your job is going to be to once again do the same exact thing. Send a message saying, can I come visit for one of the meetings? I don't want to join just yet, I just want to feel it out. And for BNI, they usually have 1 seat per profession, per chapter, meaning you're going to be the only software developer there. And understand that when it comes to your network now, because remember what we covered with geography, it's essentially where you're located, but also who you know. When it comes to your network, you're not necessarily going to be selling immediately to your network. First thing you're going to do is you're going to ask who they actually know, because you don't want to just talk to your coworker who's a software engineer. You don't want to talk to your grandma who does nothing, right? What you want to do is talk with people who can introduce you to a business owner. Either they themselves, if you're lucky enough to have somebody in your network who's a business owner, either you talk to them or you ask somebody to introduce you to a business owner, okay? And that's pretty much all you have to do in the first 7 days. Every chamber chapter in your area emailed, every BNI in your area emailed asking for a seat, right, to come and visit. and 10 network conversations booked with actual business owners, meaning you've reached out to everybody in your network that you possibly could, asked for a meeting with all the business owners, and then those who are not business owners, you've asked for an intro to a particular business owner. Now we get into basically the second week, so split number 2. And what's gonna happen here in the second week is we're gonna start with actual conversations, meaning we need to know how we frame ourselves. And people are not gonna be asking what you do necessarily, even if they say, oh, what do you do? What they actually wanna hear is, okay, what's gonna change when I work with you? So instead of just saying, oh, I'm a software engineer, I build software, you're gonna go with the frame of, I help X stop Y, or I help X achieve Y. More so, a particular person in mind, and whatever pain point that you have that you actually solve for them. Now, you might say, okay, but for all this, don't I need a website or anything? No website. All you really need is a digital QR code getting started. A website's gonna require a domain, and remember, a domain costs money, which you cannot do right now. But a QR code that's gonna be digital is gonna be free. There's a bunch of apps. All you really need is your number and your email, and then just a picture of you if there's one professional photo that you have that you can put on there. The one thing that prevents most developers from actually building this type of relationship with people is building instead of actually booking. Meaning, most people want to finish up a demo. Most people want to continue building an IDE, and the IDE is the developer's favorite hiding spot because all it really is just a procrastination. It's procrastination that prevents you from going out, talking with people, doing these introductions, showing up at these particular places, and displaying that you are the authority in that particular field. Now, where do we have from split number 2, right? Well, we have our one-line pitch written and we have it ready. So we know exactly what we're gonna frame ourselves as. We have our QR card that's live and tested, and we have our first couple visits already scheduled on the calendar that we're gonna go out and do. Now, split number 3, the third week, comes into the actual rooms. So Dom, one of our founders inside Code to CEO, using the same exact strategy that we just talked about, actually ended up closing a client that was on his flight from Dallas to Sydney, which, if you just think about how cool of a coincidence that is, you would think, okay, that's maybe a one-time thing. But he went on to do this time and time again, over and over, with different people in different situations, because of the authority and the frame that he had. Now, why do I highlight Chamber of Commerce so much in this particular case? Because when I joined my chamber in LA, I was the only developer in that room. At the time, it was about $300 a year for membership, and my first project that I got from there was close to $12,000. This is going to be the same case for you, more than likely. Most of our founders inside Code to CEO, this is the same exact thing that's happening with them. Because what happens online is there's a bunch of yous online everywhere. The internet is full of software engineers. But your city, it's most likely going to be just you. And even if it's not just you, there's other software engineers, the chances of them trying to put themselves in public like you are trying to do, it's going to be very, very low. So chances are you're going to be the only one in your chamber anyways. And another thing that you should remember is that becoming a member at these type of things, it isn't just to find clients, and it isn't just to make money for the sake of doing the 47-day challenge. People actually trust members more than a non-member. So there's almost 50% more favorability towards chamber members, as well as close to 80% increase in purchase intent, okay? Now, at this point in time, you might be thinking, okay, Bago, so is it just really my network and then the people in my area? I guess that's who I'm targeting. Yes and no. Everybody you pay can also pay you. So if you take a look at your statements, credit card statements, and just checking statements in the last 90 days, the barbershop you went to, the dental clinic, the chiropractor, the auto shop, the law office, all of these individuals, you're their customer, so the door's already open, meaning there is a chance that you can most likely help them with a problem that they're having. And once again, too many people discount this. But if you're a software engineer and you see any one of these, you're familiar with any one of these individuals, or at least on a client basis, they can be your client. And the way you want to approach this is, you don't want to immediately just ask about what's their budget or if they want to work with you or anything. What you want to do is ask about the business to try to understand it a little bit more. For example, what does your customer journey look like from A to Z? Help me run through that. If you had a magic wand, what problem would you fix in your business immediately? What is one thing you absolutely hate doing? So if I'm talking to a lawyer, let's say a personal injury lawyer, and I'm saying, what does your customer journey look like? And they're talking to me about all the way from onboarding all the way to offboarding, and they mention how onboarding takes such a long amount of time and they have to wait until the person gets the PDF, until they sign it, all this stuff. That gives me ideas. Oh wait, that can be automated, this can be done better, this can be done faster. The gears in my head start turning. If they tell me, oh, if I had a magic wand, I would fix this very annoying one problem that we have here, I will start thinking to myself, wait a minute, how can I solve that with software? Or if there's one thing that they say they absolutely hate doing and it's manually checking over, let's say, some type of document, instantly I can think, wait, why don't I just utilize AI to be able to process these documents? So obviously I gave you a little bit of a specific example, but you get my point here. It's what's possible. And another way that software engineers kind of fail at this when they try to do this is they immediately try to pitch from meeting one. Understand that these type of rooms are going to run on a ladder. You're going to go from a stranger to a regular and then to trusted. Money really only moves at the top step, which is the trusted step. If you start pitching at your first meeting at these events, you are going to remain a stranger for them forever. Rooms only pay regulars and above, right? So money, real money, is only going to move at the trusted level, but they still might pay a regular for a one-time thing. So you need to show up at least twice before you ask once. Always remember that rule in the back of your head. Are there caveats to this rule? Obviously, you'll be able to make a feel for it, but for the most part, do not try to pitch on your first meeting. So a little bit of a recap. What did we talk about in split 3? You've already visited 2 rooms at the bare minimum in person. You've had the ledger flip conversations, which means somebody that you pay, they can also pay you. So if it's a lawyer, if it's a chiropractor, if it's a dental clinic, whatever, you've had conversations with them. And you've had 3 real problems already written down in the owner's exact words as they described to you. And already 24 days have gone by. Now, moving on into split number 4. The $500 audit. At this point in time, since you've already heard of a pain point, you should already be pursuing more so a close. And Chris, on his first ever sales call from an inbound lead, using the exact strategy we just talked about, he ended up building a $1,500 site for a $200 monthly retainer. And that took him literally less than a day to set everything up, because it took him about, I believe, 6 hours worth of work to do everything and just turn it in. This was his first ever sales call. He didn't have any other experience. It just goes to show how powerful this framework actually is. And you don't necessarily want to sell the project immediately. What you want to do, at least initially, especially if you're new to this, if you get the nerves, you want to sell the audit. Less commitment, and it's more about understanding the bigger sell down the line. So all it really is about, let's say, give or take 90 minutes inside their operation. You map where hours, leads, money is leaking, and you can write a report, or you can write a proposal that offers 1, 2, 3, however many fixes you think is appropriate, each at a different price point. And you want to price the audit at a price point that is cheap enough for them to say yes, but it's also expensive enough for it to be respected. You never want to make the audit free. Once again, are there caveats to this? Yes, you'll get to know it deep down in terms of a gut feeling, but most often than not, stray away from free audits. And whenever you actually go ahead and do the audit, you want to hand them a failing test suite, meaning this is everything that failed during the audit, and here is the actual fix, which is through the proposal, obviously. And if you do one audit, that's pretty much going to pay for both of your yearly memberships for the chamber and the BNI. And if you do the project on top of the audit, well, guess what? That's going to pay this thing like 10 times over or 15 times over at the bare minimum. So to recap our split number 4, first audit is already sold, the report is delivered with prices already fixed, and both memberships paid by client money at this point in time. And 33 days should have already gone by. So now we get into the actual talk, which is split number 5, and this is the move that nobody actually has the balls to do, which makes it an extremely golden opportunity for you. I teased this in the client acquisition video I did, so here is the rest of it. Every single business in your area is going to need to adopt to AI, meaning every single business in your area is want to, at some point in time, learn and needs to be aware of AI. So the easiest way into this room is to ask your chamber president as well as your BNI chapter if you can run a free session for all the members there on what AI can actually do for local businesses. Keep in mind, I'm using AI here because it is basically the buzzword of the century right now. You can replace this with some type of particular software or just tech in general, and it will still be beneficial for everybody at the chamber as well as the BNI. You're likely going to be the only member who can actually give this kind of a talk because you're going to be the only software engineer. So you want to use your expertise as your unique advantage. And what's going to happen is meetings are going to buy trust in single batches, but a talk is going to buy it in bulk. So every person that you met prior to this, maybe on a one-on-one online remote meeting or maybe one-on-one conversation per coffee, you're not going to have the same thing but multiplied at scale. So you're going to have 30 at once. You're still going to be the same hour of your life, but it's going to be a completely different multiplier. And what you want to do during these actual demos, whenever you do host these meetings, or whenever you do demo, you want to open up with their pain point, whatever that pain point may be. Best way to figure it out is before the meeting, send in a quick little Google form asking the businesses what the biggest pain points are in their business. Let them answer it for you, and then you demo one of those specific real actual pain points live, and you end it with a Q&A, not necessarily an offer. You don't need an offer just yet. They should already know by now what you do, and a simple at the end, can you take a look at ours, or can you do an audit for us, or can you take a look at our situation, is going to book the call that you need to actually sell them. Now, what really messes with developers here at this stage is whenever they try to justify themselves because they start thinking like an employee. And in one of the slides where they're presenting, they put in, and that's why you should hire me. The second you start selling in a demo like this, you are going to be essentially a vendor. You need to teach them, and you need to stay the authority. Remember that. You can sell at the very end, you can make a pitch, you can have scarcity, all those offers. But in the very, very beginning or throughout your entire presentation, make sure you are delivering value and genuinely teaching and fixing the problem that you've uncovered. You might ask yourself, Abugo, if I give these guys a solution, why would they even need me in the first place? Because you cannot transfer 5, 10, 15, 20 years of engineering knowledge in a 60-minute talk. What the room walks away with isn't going to be the actual skill that you have. It's going to be 2 simple facts. That this is possible for them, and that you are the one who can make it a reality. Take a look at IKEA. They put all the instructions in a box. Every screw, every step, the little cartoon guy that's going to show you exactly what to do, and people still pay somebody else on TaskRabbit to build the dresser. What you're doing is giving them the actual implementation on how to go about it, but you are providing them a done-for-you service, okay? So let's take a look at this, essentially what we need to have by split 5. Talk date locked in with the presidents of the chamber as well as the BNI. 1 live demo built on a real local pain point that we've gotten based on our Google form that we sent out. And every attendee at that particular live demo leaving with our digital QR code, or at least our contact information. This should all be done by day 40. Now, our last split, it's the closing out stage. Paul, one of our developers, one of our founders inside Code to CEO, did the same exact thing that we're talking about here, and he was the only developer in the room, and every single conversation after the fact was all viewing him as an authority. This is the chamber that he did it at. He simply did a little demo on AI, on Claude, and those kinds of things, and now he's treated as an authority for anything AI or software related, and he's getting a consistent inbound flow of clients. Tamir, same exact thing, very similar. After he changed the positioning, managed to land over a $50,000 contract for a construction company creating an AI call center. Now I can't talk openly about the next project he's on, but in a couple weeks or in a couple months, you should see another video with Tamir where he's going to talk about the biggest project pretty much of his career. And keep in mind, nobody on X, nobody on anywhere on the internet is going to be able to fight you for these opportunities. Even some of our own examples within our firm, the bakery down the street, the roofing company down the street, and the rideshare-based ad tech company down here in LA that at the time we worked with, they're not going on X and looking for a developer. In fact, none of these individuals even knew of my existence or other developers' existences prior to me actually going out there, making the introduction and meeting with these individuals. And another thing that I want to highlight here is authority that you are building does have a half-life, okay? So you need to spend it fast. You need to follow up with everybody while you're still viewed as the authority as well as the speaker. Usually this is between immediately, I would say, and then 0 to 48 hours. You want to book everything here. So all the messages to people telling them to book the one-on-one time or whatever it is that you're going to pitch to get your first client, it needs to be done within 2 days, okay? And by day 47, you should have, at the bare minimum, already 2 to 3 clients under your belt if you've genuinely followed this to the T. And remember, you didn't just land clients. You took a position and now people know you. In 47 days, you went from an absolute nobody to becoming the AI guy or the software guy or the software engineer in your city. So the $0 in your bank account was never the actual problem. It was all about how resourceful you were being with the resources that you had. And remember, your network is your net worth. So the full route, to kind of recap it, you start off with Recon, right? Identify the chamber, identify the BNI, email them, ask for a visit, talk with everybody in your network, get at least 10 conversations booked. Then write down your pitch based on what you've heard people talk about, have your QR code such that you have at least some type of a presence, and begin actually putting visits on the calendar. Then you're gonna get into the rooms, right? Have the convos that we talked about with the people that you pay, and identify 3 problems verbatim based on what they told you. Sell an audit to the problems you've identified to the people you've also spoken with. Price the report delivered, right? And memberships on clients, money completely paid because of the audit as well as the next project that you're gonna get. Then you have the talk where you set up an existing live demo, and most of the time this live demo will actually come from the client that you sold over here that you did. Could be from the audit or could be from the project that you took on. You can either use that as a testimonial for the live demo, you can use that as an example for the live demo, or if you want to start from complete scratch, you're more than welcome to do that as well. And every single person leaving that live demo should have your contact information in hand. And within 48 hours of attending that specific talk that you gave, every single person should, at the very least, have gotten a message from you asking to book a call or at least some other type of offer. And at this point in time, you should have bare minimum client number 1 closed. On a good day, 2 to 3 clients at the bare minimum closed, all in less than 2 months. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all you really need to be able to close these clients. So if you do these 3 things before Sunday, right? So which is basically in about 6 days. List every chamber in your city, send a visit email, write your 1-line pitch, say it out loud to yourself so you understand the positioning. And remember, framing is the most important thing here. Pull your last 90 days of transactions and circle the 5 businesses you'll talk to, as well as identifying the people in your network who you can speak with. That's when the run officially starts. If you want help running through this exact route, click the link below, www.code2ceo.com. Send in your application. If you're a good fit, you'll be considered to join my startup accelerator, Code to CEO. Before watching this video, you were probably asking yourself if, you'd make it. Now you know you can make it because you have the route, okay? All that's really needed from you is to just believe in yourself, follow everything to the T, and understand that this isn't just what worked for me. This same thing worked for countless other developers all across the world, from India, from Brazil, from the United States, from Europe, right? We have Europe such as Germany, we have Serbia, we have Slovakia, we have so many different countries all across the world that this has worked in. All you really have to do is just put in the work. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good rest of your day.